So basically, while I contracted a few colds this past month, I was on my way to the store and I was looking at, various Blu-ray collections. And, I saw Game of Thrones. And then, hey, Game of Thrones. What about The Witcher? They said the Witcher was going to be kind of like Game of Thrones or whatever. And I haven't seen both of those series yet. And I also bought the Game of Thrones books a long time ago. I have the whole collection up to date since the last book came out in 2011. So basically, I said, okay, I'm going to watch The Witcher. I fucking love The Witcher. Oh my god, it was an amazing show. There was some strange, feminism parts, in the show. But then, mid-season, the director stopped it and was like, oh my god, It started getting really good after that. I can talk about that in a different video. But for today, I want to talk about Game of Thrones and how great it was and my grievances with the way they handled Game of Thrones, the latter part of Game of Thrones. So let's get into it. I love the series. I bought the book several years ago, and they're accumulating dust now. So when I saw the first season of The Witcher, I was looking for more of that feel. The streaming service I was using for The Witcher recommended GOT. Of course, GOT Game of Thrones gives you various feelings throughout the series, and there's no particular standout tone throughout the seasons. That's something I noticed throughout my time watching Game of Thrones. There was never a particular mood that would hang compared to The Witcher, where, The Witcher had that grim, funny, dark humor type of feeling throughout it, and I loved it, and that was very refreshing, absolutely amazing. But for Game of Thrones, unfortunately, there was no theme or tone that would stick because the characters were forever shifting in the game that they talk about in the series. I was mistaken at first to compare it to The Witcher, and well, it wasn't my fault. Let's be honest here. I was mistaken at first. It was actually the streaming service that told me to compare it to The Witcher. So I was like, The Witcher gives off an entirely different fantasy feel in its own right. Game of Thrones was an amazing ride and a unique experience up until the point where they continued. Oh, wait, guys, spoiler alert, be careful. Spoiler alert. Continued the story after the siege of Winterfell via the Night King and his White Walkers. Okay, so we get to this part of the series. I don't know if is it late season 7, something like that. And we're there with the Night King and the White Walkers. And, everything's going well. There's no terrible moments. There's no lingering moments throughout the series. There's no, oh, fuck you, let's get on with it, man. I just want to finish the damn show. None of that up until that point. And I really like the show for that. So, in my opinion, they should have left it where the waif or Ira, I don't know, I have my doubts about it being Ira. I can't tell if it's either the waif or Ira, because the waif studied Ira really well. She studied mannerisms, so I can't really tell who's who at this point. And it doesn't help that the show doesn't really flesh out any background on anything, right? I mean, we see the Night King, but we don't know why he's there, what he's doing, what's his purpose, and what's going through his mind, Usually in all other TV shows, the bad guy has a plan, or he's trying to make others see the light of his plan, but this guy, he just brainwashes people and collects them. I guess this sort of plays into the horror scope that this show was trying to portray, and we'll talk about that a few seconds later. They should have left it where the waif or Ira kills the Night King. It was epic. Credit should have rolled back then. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. They should have taken a break when Ira killed the Night King, because it was horrible. The show became shit after that. I couldn't understand how they portrayed Ira as somebody who was competing with Lady Brienne when she was fighting and training in Winterfell for the siege of Winterfell via the Night King. And she was really beating Lady Brienne. She was knocking the wind out of her, right? And then suddenly, we see Ira, who was struggling with the zombie horror scene at the castle archives for some reason. I didn't understand the purpose. She had the opportunity to silently kill those zombies, but she didn't. She didn't kill those White Walkers. I don't know why. Were they trying to give us a horror scope feel of the show? I'm pretty sure they were trying to insert some horror in there. But did they succeed? No, because we've seen the White Walkers several times up until now, and they'd been fighting them for an hour at least when we got to that area of the castle. So there was absolutely no fear from that. So I don't understand what she was doing struggling there. That's probably just bad writing, crappy writing from my experience. Maybe she fell out of her no one persona as well, I didn't understand. She was no one. She could feel no emotions, but suddenly Ira is scared. Ira is scared of the zombies. So, Derp, the White Walkers. I don't know why she's scared. She's supposed to be stern and, like a ghost, and she's supposed to be one that's supposed to instill fear within the White Walkers. So I was guessing crappy writing at that point. But that was the only point where I said, what the fuck's going on here? Oh, there was another point too. Right before that, when there was the siege of Highgarden, and we had Jaime and we had Tyrion, and they were talking around a table, and then suddenly Bronn, the sellsword, he comes in and he punches Tyrion in the face. Why? That's so out of character. I wouldn't expect that from Bronn. Up until now, he's been a cheery, happy-go-lucky motherfucker with, a snide, not a snide, but a sarcastic type tone. And then he came out of left field and he punched Tyrion. And then he was being a dick and an asshole to both Tyrion and Jaime, and he was asking for money. I thought this guy was legitimately friends with both Tyrion and Jaime, but no, that guy was a dick. That's just, another example. What the fuck? Of a what the fuck moment. What's going on? Anyways, so I'm claiming they should have taken a break after she assassinated the Night King and waited for the rest of the books to be written, so they could continue the series with quality plot points. I'm not saying that modern day writers can't write for shit, but actually I am right. I am saying that they can't write for shit, man. If you look at, the Arrowverse versus the Smallville verse, you'll see the difference in quality of writing is insane. I don't know how they're doing it right now. So at this point, people, I don't know if it was after this, maybe people are saying that the series got too woke. I didn't see any typically woke moments other than the fact that, most of the men were killed off. I don't know if that was Mr. George R.R. Martin's prerogative to do that, to kill off all the men. I'm not sure. I haven't read the books, right? I heard they were amazing and everybody's praising them, and then suddenly the series got too woke. Maybe it did get too woke. Maybe the men should have played a bigger part and a bigger role in it, but the actress who plays Daenerys, she herself is a feminist. I don't know if she had any input on this, and I don't know what type of feminist she is. I don't know what type of aim they were going for, but this wokeness, the extent of the wokeness didn't bother me that much, because I was secretly hoping for either Rob or John to make something out of themselves, and it just turns out that John was the elite character of the show, regardless of what you have to say about Daenerys, I fell in love with the Daenerys character, and I absolutely loved her, and I could understand, what was going on in her mind and the consequences of her actions, and the actions of other people that led to her consequences. But yeah, anyways, let's continue this. So, the rest of the series was incredibly tedious, and there was not enough content. Yes, and another thing I wanted to talk about, and it severely pissed me off, because they ran out of content and they ran out of dialogue, they ran out of ideas, and they became like scrambled eggs, derpy derp McDerperson. There was lots of slow motion close-ups, lots of slow motion walking with epic music. I mean, what type of fucking idiot would do that? It's like they're spitting on the fans right there. I couldn't take that, I'm sitting there, I'm watching these 1 hour and 15-minute episodes, the extended episodes, and I'm just seeing a fucking retard. Several fucking retards. No offense. There's Tyrion, there's Arya, there's Jon, there's other people, and they're just walking around in slow motion because there's a siege. I don't know what type of emotion you're trying to captivate here, but if you're doing this for the whole amount of the fucking show and without any dialogue to give us context about what's going on, that means you're running out of ideas, and it's blatant. You didn't even try to hide it. You didn't even write a script. You're just panning in and out of people walking in slow motion. That pissed me off hard right there. I was like, oh my god, it's getting tedious. I want this to fucking expand, and it didn't expand. It was just retards walking. Yeah, it comprised the majority of the later episodes, especially in season 8. And there was like meaningless banter, like she's, oh yeah, I'm gonna save you, come with me, and then there's the dragon, and there's rocks. No, dude, just abandon ship, go to your target. Your target was to murder the queen, and what happened there? Just nah. Okay, another thing I have to say, it's about Jon. Okay, so you expect me to believe Jon killed Daenerys when she ransacked King's Landing for a purpose and revenge, when at the same time he spared Ygritte, who was raiding, pillaging, and raping? He only snookied Ygritte once, and he fell for her. I imagine he loved his aunt even more when he realized they were related. I'm not going to believe that Jon Snow, or Aegon Daenerys, what is his name? Aegon Targaryen, is so retarded that he's going to take the advice from Tyrion, who obviously was pissed off that his brother died. His brother, who was his only friend in the world, okay? He's going to take his advice and, oh, I'm going to think about it. And up until that point, he's like, oh, she's my queen, you treacher, you traitor, And then, it took was one conversation with Tyrion, and suddenly, bam, he's going to go kill Daenerys. That is not Jon Snow. That is not Aegon Targaryen, okay? That is not him. I didn't understand that, Jon is a hard-headed son of a bitch, okay? And he knows what to do is right. He knows what's right, and he's not going to do anything that's stupid. He's what is it called? He's decapitated people that beheaded people that were traitors to him. He's killed them too, but he's never killed somebody for a nonsensical thing like taking the capital. Of course, this is war, okay? Whenever you would talk to somebody in the Game of Thrones series, they would say, this is war, this is what we have to do. And essentially what happened was Cersei put Daenerys in a very tough position, between a rock and a hard place. Obviously, she did it so she would burn them all like the Mad King, make her look bad. But, the thing is, she also provoked her. Cersei was provoking, or actually provoked Daenerys by killing her faithful Miss Sunday. And that's something we'll talk about later. So I'm just saying what John did was out of character. I don't believe John would have done what he did, but since various news outlets are confirming that Mr. Martin is scrambling to rewrite the latest books, I am assuming that's what he also intended. And because of the negative fan backlash, he is changing the story. And I saw that piece in the express.co.uk, and they're saying that George R.R. Martin is changing the 6th book, Winds of the Winter or something. Winds of Winter. And because of the negative backlash that the fans gave the actual story in the show. So I don't know if that's what R.R. Martin was thinking, but, thank God. I was, frustrated at first, but then I read this article and was like, maybe it was a good thing that the show showed these plot points, because they said that R.R. Martin gave them like various notes on a paper to guide them as to how to end the show. And now, because, he saw these plot points, these epic plot points, and the people didn't respond to them well, he's actually changing up Winds of Winter. So maybe the HBO show having this series finale was a good thing in essence. But anyways, about John, there's no way he would do that. If Ygritte had him by the lure of her finger after one fuck, there's no way the Dragon Girl didn't command his soul. Okay? Instead of having Tyrion blame himself for releasing his brother and ultimately killing him in the process, he blames Daenerys for his treason. Why? Like, I couldn't believe how retarded Tyrion is. He's like, I want to be a good person. I want people to behave well. No. In wartime, he basically let a prisoner of war go, and he gave him instructions on how to free himself and the direct opposition, which was Cersei, through the tunnels of the Red Keep. So right there, that is actual treason, People have been murdered for less, okay? And, Robb has murdered people for less, and we loved Robb. Robb was amazing. So some people say that Robb was a one-dimensional character in the books, but he was very fleshed out in the show, and I agree. I really liked Robb. It was either Robb or Jon that I thought was going to do something. So, yeah, okay. Daenerys played nice this whole time. She was being advised by Mormont, Varys, and the other King Guard commander who kept her in check. Okay, so yeah, we saw that she had 3 guys telling her, if this is bad, do this, and if I ever get out of line, please mention it to me. Varys told her, but Varys, he's very, he's not on your side. He's basically on the side of the people, or what he thinks the people want, okay? And that's another thing. What do the people want in this show? One minute they're going to be cheering your name, and the other minute they're going to be backstabbing you. They're going to call you names too. So, you can't win the fidelity of the people. You can't make everybody happy. So every decision you make should be heeded by the wise council. I didn't like how they were trying to make democracy a thing, at the end. Everybody should have a vote. Fuck that. No, nobody's fit to have a vote right there. Everybody's on some type of drug, alcohol, God knows, brothels. I don't think the people deserved a vote, based on their vices, just the whole city of King's Landing. It was a cesspool of vice that reeked of shit. Okay? It reeked of shit, I'm not going to lie. And, many characters mentioned that they could smell the shit at least 3 miles away. So, King's Landing was a cesspool of trash. Maybe it was a good thing that she brought Armageddon to it. So, yeah, you can see my, my bias coming in there. So, yeah, so those guys, Daenerys, those guys, Mormont Varys and the other King Guard commander, I forgot, he's the old man who served under Targaryen and Robert Baratheon, but I forgot his name, and his name was probably too complicated. Maybe it was McCormick, Sir McCormick, I'm not sure. Anyways, so those guys did their best, and Tyrion did all he could, okay? But the problem is Cersei killed Miss Sunday. And because of that, Daenerys lost her shit, along with the pent-up feelings of being the daughter of the Mad King, and being, everybody kept reminding her father is the Mad King. It's like, fuck it, I'm the Mad Queen. Being sold and abused in this continuity. I'm not sure if, they said that they played up the rape. Well, actually, there was no rape. She was never raped in the books. Daenerys Targaryen was never raped in the books, so obviously for the show, they made her raped. So if you can think about it from her point of view, she has all this pent-up anger. She wants revenge. Of course she's going to lose it. The problem is Daenerys let the Unsullied have relationships. What I didn't understand was, okay, she let the Unsullied free, but and when push came to shove, Grey Worm enabled her destructive behavior instead of trying to advise her appropriately because of his feelings towards Miss Sunday. Grey Worm has the emotional intelligence of a 5-year-old, not too sure letting him lead the charge when his scissoring lover gets her head lobbed off is a good idea. So what I didn't understand there was, relationships take people who are mature, who understand the consequences of their actions, who understand basically everything about life, and then they can enter a relationship. Most things in life, right? But this guy has the emotional intelligence of a 5-year-old, and when he sees something happen to the first person and the only person he's loved in his life, he's gonna lose it. That's why they said do not lead the Unsullied to temptation, because temptation distracts them from the goal or the better good. Anyways, that was a shit idea. I didn't like Grey Worm at all. I didn't like how he turned on Jon, I know his allegiance was with the Queen of Dragons, but he was behaving irrationally, and I was like, oh, there you go. A mindless drone. The mindless drone theory came to fruition. I think that the feelings Daenerys had for Jon were amplified once she learned she was his aunt, and she became more of a protector for Jon. She was supplicating to him before he stabbed her in the heart. And, Jon was visibly upset with Daenerys, and then, Daenerys rushed to his face, to his side. Well, she grabbed his face like she's grabbing a child, and she was comforting him, she was supplicating him, and she was speaking to him in a tone that, it's like you're speaking to a child. I wouldn't say it's patronizing. I would say in this aspect, in this regard, it was like you're trying to comfort your 5-year-old son, and you're trying to tell him, I love you, it's okay, whatever. And then Jon sees that opportunity to stab her, unfortunately. But you can see that she had the stronger feelings for Jon. I don't care what's his name, Tyrion said to Jon. It doesn't mean that whatever he said is going to come to fruition. It doesn't mean whatever he said is going to come to pass, okay? The thing is, Tyrion was reeling from his brother's death. And then he used those negative emotions and he channeled them. He channeled them into the thought process of Jon. And because of that, Jon killed Daenerys. He didn't even have the time allotted to wait and see if she would change her outlook, if she could change, or he didn't even have the patience to do what Lady Marjorie did with, what's his name? Joffrey. You could say Joffrey was a lost cause, but he was starting just, a tiny bit trying to mellow out with Lady Marjorie there when he was talking about giving the foods to the poor, giving the leftover food to the poor people. And that's exactly what he did. But his mother, she was calling shots in the background. She's like, no, don't give the food. But you can see Lady Marjorie had a positive effect on Joffrey. Even if it was a minuscule effect and he was still a rotten, piss poor son of a bitch. Okay? But still, she had an effect. Why didn't Jon ever think of that sort of manipulation? I don't like people who manipulate other people, but when it's for the greater good and there's no reason to kill somebody, you can do that. That type of manipulation with positive reinforcement, getting cheers from the people, and then it leading to you making better decisions and better choices in the future. Why not? It's basically like positive reinforcement. It's training. Some people call it manipulation. Some people call it positive reinforcement. I like the term positive reinforcement if it leads to something good, something better. Anyways, so before he stabbed her in the heart, she was supplicating to him. Even though Jon is the rightful heir to the throne, Daenerys was primed since childhood to be the rightful queen. She wouldn't have a purpose to exist if you took that away from her. And by childhood, I'm saying that she was maybe 16, 17, 14, 15. I don't know when she met Dragus Malgur or whatever his name is. Some type of, the Qatari prince. That guy. And she married him. Dragul Gur or what? I can't remember. I can't even pronounce these names. But yeah, ever since she met him and he fucked her, she was being primed to be queen after he boiled her brother's head and made him, a gold throne that nobody else would have seen. Made him the most amazing throne. Not throne, sorry. What do you call crown? Crown. Amazing crown nobody has seen. That was an amazing, that was hilarious. And I was at that point, I was like, oh, fuck her brother. He's such an annoying imp. And he does essentially look like, what do they call him? A ferret. He does look like a ferret. Everybody was making fun of the Targaryens because most of them look like ferrets, right? So fuck him. Anyways, she wouldn't have... Okay, so yeah, Daenerys was being primed since childhood to be the rightful queen. She wouldn't have a purpose to exist if you took that away from her. Of course, she would have an identity crisis. But Jon never did that. He kept calling her my queen until her very last breath. So why didn't he give her a chance to change? That was an absolutist move, like he was seeing things in black and white, and in the Game of Thrones, there is no black and white, there's always a gray area. People are going to use you in that gray area. Just look at Baelish, Lord Baelish. I don't know if I want to call him a lord, but that asshole over there. And, he was using people, he was operating within the gray area. Sometimes out of jealousy or a spike in his emotions, he would operate in the black area. And that's ultimately what got him killed, because he was an asshole. But, before that, he was operating in the gray area, most of the time. Not all of the time. But anyways, Jon could have played the waiting game like Marjorie, make himself the center of his aunt's life, and slowly instill lessons and advice into Daenerys. Just like Marjorie did with Tommen, the second Lannister king. And yeah, from there everything would have went well. But unfortunately, Baratheon king, sorry. Third Baratheon king, sorry. No, he didn't do that. So I was saying, this is just shitty writing. But no, she has to die just because. And the just because was shitty writing. Tyrion is pissed off that the only true friend he had, his brother, died. That doesn't mean he has to kill the princess as retribution for a casualty he caused. Tyrion manipulated the level-headed Jon. How come Jon is so suspicious of others, right? Well, actually, no, he's actually a very happy-go-lucky guy. He's not very suspicious. His sister is suspicious of others. His sisters are suspicious of other people, but he's an idiot. So, yeah, he manipulated Jon, and Jon didn't realize this. The sorceress tried to manipulate Jon, but Jon told her, fuck off. So why couldn't he tell Tyrion, I got you, I understand you? That's what he told him when he was leaving the keep, where they were keeping Tyrion. But unfortunately, man, he really screwed up there. So that's why the writers bombed the series after Winterfell. Modern day TV show writers don't have what it takes to make a series great anymore without any hand-holding, you know? I feel really bad for the Daenerys actress. She's been running into some poor health lately. I'm not sure if she's going to be with us much longer, but I can't imagine that her legacy would be tainted with a series finale like this. Don't get me wrong. You know, everybody was cheering for Daenerys. Everybody was cheering for Jon, you know. Why not, after all these damn seasons, give us the ending we deserved? Listen, I know some people say, oh, this is a Game of Thrones. No. We went through 8 crazy-ass seasons. Especially the last season. Oh my god, it was tedious. And for a reward for that tedious season, why not give us what we wanted? No, you didn't want to give us what we wanted. You gave us a spit to our face and told us, here you go away. I didn't like that. I didn't like that ending. I hated that ending. You know, I basically the same thing. The first thing that came to my mind was I watched all of these fucking episodes. I put in several hundred hours. I don't know how many hundred hours. Fucking, what is it? 80, around 100 hours to watch the man I wanted to be king. Well, actually, not to watch the woman I wanted to be queen, and the man who I thought would complement her as the queen, as the king, or as the queen, whatever. Only to have them fucked over, only to have it be so tragic and, you know, whatever. It wasn't even tragic in the sense that it was Romeo and Juliet type tragic. It was just tragic because us fans, us watchers, we got screwed over. We got the short end of the stick. These actors, you know, they're going to go home. They're going to count their cash. They're going to be like, wasn't so bad. But for us, you know, the guys who invested their time to watch this, who didn't get, you know, compensated to watch the show, we got an axe. We got a spit to the face. And I felt really bad for the Daenerys actress too. You know, I felt really bad for her. I don't know. I don't care what her political views are. I'm going to say she did an amazing job, you know, acting as Daenerys. And she was the most believable of the cast. You know, there was never a moment where she didn't deviate from her character. And that is just amazing, you know. Some people were complaining about the politics in the series, and I would chalk it up to bad writing, politics, and a rushed scenario with bad writing. It was just bad writing. I would say the bad writing stood out more other than the politics. You know, if you had told me that this is Game of Thrones, I wouldn't have noticed that, you know, most of the women survived there. I wouldn't have noticed that. I wouldn't give a shit. I would say it's the most logical explanation because in war times and medieval times, it would be the men that were sent out to conquer and rule. And of course, there would be many fatalities. You know, we're probably being even generous with the outcome with Game of Thrones, if we want to think about it logically. You know, maybe it's even level-headed. You know, the outcome there. But because it's a TV show, you know, you'd want to support more male characters. You'd want to see them succeed. Why not? Because it's fantasy. It didn't happen here. You know, I had that guy from the Brotherhood with the sword and the flaming sword. You know, that was amazing. Why'd you have to kill him off? You know, why couldn't you keep him on there? He was the only dude that operated within the realms of magic, right? other than the priest guy, but that guy was cool. Why couldn't you give the magic to other people? Other men. It's a shame that such a show became a chore to watch in the later seasons. I mean, later episodes. The Unsullied became what I feared, mindless drones. Yeah, that's what happened, and they're taking the shots from Grey Worm, and Grey Worm was infatuated with what's her name. So, as the cookie crumbles, they say. There was nothing more I could say about the series in that, it was amazing up until she stabbed the Night King. We still don't know anything about the Night King's motive. We don't know about the Star Children. Well, not the Star Children. Children of the Forest, Children of the Garden. I don't know. The Kokiris. Sorry. But yeah. I hope that the new book probably creates a new show with a different continuity. I'm pretty sure they could do that. They could follow up the show with a different continuity, and then gather most of the same cast back, and give a short background of what happened in that continuity, and finish up with a good ending for everybody. But I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think we're going to see the final book because for a while, because Mr. George R.R. Martin is rewriting that book. So it's going to be a while before we get any Game of Thrones related stuff. And I'm not talking about the spin-off with the girls. Recently there's been spin-offs with girls in every genre of movie, TV show, and I feel that they're redundant, but we'll see. Right, good night, good evening, and good morning. This was Opie Game. I hope you have a great day. Cheers. Yes, good day. It is Hentai Happy, and I have some news